Happy Tuesday, folks. And look at this. We've got my brother Wayne Sutton back in the house. Super excited.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. We've had vacation Bible school this week, so we were kicking that off, and it's always great to hear from folks that get a chance to listen in. They get something from this podcast. But I was sharing with some folks yesterday. It's always difficult here when you're by yourself trying to have that conversation. Make sure you keep driving the pace, and it's just like, I'm just here talking to myself, but it's great that other people are getting it. So I'm happy that you're back. I'm happy that we've got folks that this is making an impact in their lives. So we appreciate you tuning in. And we're going to continue with the theme of the kingdom. We did get a little bit of a visual at our service on Sunday. We're going to talk about the seed. So super excited to dig into this, but this is the Overflow Podcast. Welcome back. It's where we live in the presence and power of God in our everyday lives. So glad that you're here with us today. As I mentioned, today's episode is going to be about the soil of your soul and the seeds that you're planting without even realizing it. This past week at Seaside, we didn't just hear a good word from Pastor Jerry. We got handed a physical seed, this baby right here. And what that is a reminder of what we do. It is up to us. Jesus tells us in Mark 4 that the word is sown like the seed, but only one kind of soil actually produces fruit. So the real question is, what kind of ground are you? What's growing in your life? And are you planting better seed or just rehearsing the same old weeds? We're going to unpack this together, talk about what it means to cultivate good soil, the difference between receiving and producing, and how to partner with the Holy Spirit so your life doesn't just survive, but it multiplies. So take a deep breath, grab your Bibles, and let's lean into this together. Wayne, I want to throw it over to you. I know you have potential little story to kick us off with.
Yeah, it was so funny whenever he handed out the pumpkin seed. I've always said, one of the things I've said so many times in my ministry is every seed produces after its own kind, period. And Jerry did a great illustration of that. But a number of years ago, this was 10 years ago, because we were at our old house, Candace wanted the decorate it for fall.
Yeah.
Hay bales, pumpkins. Well, I left the pumpkin out a little too long. And she was like, hey, you need to, it's looking bad. So instead of taking the pumpkin and putting it into, the recycling or garbage or whatever, I just kind of chunked it in the backyard and thought, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
And I did a couple of weeks later. But by then it had, it had rotten and all was apart. I had to get the shovel and clean it up. But the point was, I didn't think nothing of it, right? Until several months later, I don't know, maybe the springtime come around. I don't remember when, but I'm going out to mow the lawn and I'm like, what is this weird vine? And we mow it. And then next, 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm going to mow it. And now it's a huge vine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we're growing a pumpkin patch in our backyard because the seed hit the ground. And what really hit me with that, and I've always remembered that, and I preached on this. And then when Jerry came in Sunday, I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. The soil did not care if it was a pumpkin seed, poison ivy, what's in there is going to push it out. It happened to push out, but that was an unintentional seed I planted.
Mm-hmm.
And unintentional seeds will still sprout forth. So we got to be extremely diligent on these seeds we're planting and recognizing this vine doesn't belong here. Let me take it out from the root. So I just thought it was a great story from somebody who's grown an unintentional pumpkin patch. And I even thought when I got to see Sunday, should I plant this in the backyard?
There we go. Yeah, just do it again. Let's run it back.
Yeah.
No, but that's such a beautiful illustration because, we'll talk about this a little area later on, but Jerry talks about, you look at your yard, right? We try to plant these seeds and we do so much to create good ground, to water it. Does it have the right sunlight? It's a precarious process. Yet you look in your yard and there's weeds popping up everywhere. Weeds don't need permission to grow, but we have a tendency, to your point, to inadvertently give attention to distractions, to noise, to fleshly desires, to the secular life, which frankly results in weeds growing, and it's taking over, choking out the opportunity to really have good soil and to bear good fruit. So that's such a beautiful illustration of how that actually happens, not just in, in planting of a pumpkin patch, but in our everyday lives of, it's even the saying, birds of a feather flock together. If you want to change your life and you're not happy with your current life, have you taken a chance to look around your surroundings? What are those individuals doing in their lives? What are they active in? What are they, in support of? That's a really big piece of this. But what I want to dig into is to start, we had a couple verses that Pastor Jerry went through, and I'll just read them off really quick. I know we've been spending a lot of time in the parables of, in Mark chapter 4. He really had an opportunity to dig into, Mark chapter 4, 1 through 20, where it actually is the parables explained of what is the sower and the explanation of the 4 grounds or 4 types of ground. We talked about Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh, so is he. Again, talking about seeds, what's inside you is what comes out. Luke 6:45, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Again, starting on the inside, coming out. Galatians 6:7, whatever a man sows, he will also reap. These are just every single time we talk about this. It's about what comes on the inside is what comes out. And that's the definition of what Jerry even said with roots, is roots start down before they go up. So it's starting inside of you, getting a hold of you, and then it's coming out. And frankly, I mean, I can even think back to times of my past and areas where I didn't necessarily, as a reflection, like what I was doing or how I was acting or how I was speaking. And then I think about all of the things that I surrounded my life with at that time. And it's almost a reflection. It's a mirror. If your surroundings mirror what is going on in your life. And that's exactly what this is. It's all about, are you creating ground for seeds to multiply, but actually good seeds? Because the world that we live in today is chaos. It's crazy. It's constant. It's 24/7. So we are always getting bad seed. What are we doing to block that bad seed and to allow space in your heart, which is really good ground, for those good seeds to multiply? I think that's something that's really, really important to think about, and it's important to encourage, because that's the design for God. Was he made seeds to multiply. That's what we're supposed to do, is be good seeds and to multiply and to spread the good word. Like, I think oftentimes we lose that focus. We just tie it to, okay, it's me, it's my relationship, right? But have you ever thought about how you act, what you do? What does that do for your kids? Obviously, I know you're a father, you're a busy guy, father of 4, they keep you running, but you've got that constant check of, I need to be a good man, not just for myself, but to be a representation for my girls. So you can be a good seed for them of how they should act. Same thing for Candace as they look at their mom. That's about planting seed. And I think we get so self-consumed that oftentimes we lose track of, okay, well, what am I producing for other people?
Yeah. And another thing, Eli, is real important. You can go out. Let's just think about it. You can go out and you could take that pumpkin seed that you have, and maybe it would grow in the sands of Carolina Beach. I don't know, but you could be intentional. You could be intentional about, and I think we had to be very intentional. Why am I VBS, which I loved seeing that last night. More come tonight. But that was in a lot of intentional work to help these children. But when I walked into the Family Life Center and just saw those children walking out, I've just told Candace, I got emotional.
Yes.
I mean, it hit me. This is so good. That's intentional. But we have to look at and this really wasn't in Jerry's sermon, so just a little add-on, I guess.
Yeah.
I want to be intentional in so many different areas. For example, we're intentional about taking our children to church. We're intentional about placing our children, my choice, in a Christian school. We're intentional about these. But what about intentional about what they watch on TV? What's in the background music? These are the things that are seeds. Because one seed from the enemy, as Jerry said, weeds don't need permission to grow. Exactly. One seed can come in and start choking out the good. Yep. So it's little things, making sure we got Christian music in the car when we're driving, making sure that when I leave my living area to come to my office, many times I know the kids are going to be coming in, or Candace is going to be coming in, or maybe it's just the dog that needs to hear, but I'll turn on some worship music, or I'll turn on a preaching playlist. I want those seeds to be implanted all the time, because we have moments where my soil is probably rocky.
Yeah.
I have soils. There's moments when that soil is not always the good soil. So I need to be planting seeds in the good and bad so they take root.
Absolutely.
So I think intentional.
To your point on that, though, and it's funny that you bring that up, because I just had this similar conversation with a good friend of mine. We were at a wedding in Seattle, and he's a father of 3, and they've talked about the principles that they put in place. And he's a former pastor, and he's like, how we do things to be intentional about what we limit their use of. What are they allowed to watch when they go to other people's houses, making sure that those folks know that, hey, there's certain things that we just do differently, and there's intention behind that, because we are planting seeds and we want it to be in good ground. And I think that the way that you do that is, and it's such a, it's a motivation for me, and it's an inspiration for me to look at you and how you act and with your kids, and what you do, and the foundation that you build is something that I'm looking forward to being, going forward and being a father. But like that is there's such intention with being a parent, because to your point, you don't realize how you may knee-jerk react. What does that end up planting as a seed in your child? And then all of a sudden they grow up and they're knee-jerk reacting, and they're pissed off, and they're, you know what I mean? It's all about seed. It really, truly is. And then, I mean, what this is frankly a representation of, we're holding an entire pumpkin patch. This seed is potential. It's potential for bad. It's potential for good. What type of seed? But I love when you think about seed. For me, it sort of clicked. And it was funny. I was talking to Morgan. We were sitting there. I was like, Morgan, write this down. Seed equals potential. I was like, I need to remember this for Tuesday's podcast. And that is the beautiful part about that is, yes, this seed represents a pumpkin patch. But if you think about this as the seed, if I'm intentional every day about getting up, getting my mind straight, meditating on the word, spending some time with God in conversation, I'm planting good ground. The potential for that over time, as that becomes more of a habit, it becomes part of my daily practice. I then start to walk that out of my daily life. It starts to impact my spouse. It impacts my family. It impacts my friends. And then you're just like, all of a sudden you've grown a pumpkin patch of evangelism and of passionate Christians. Like, that is something that I get so jazzed up about, because it's just, we lose sight of that. And that's why I think this visual is so strong.
It is. And the visual is so strong but as long as it stays on your desk, it'll never grow. The seeds that we have within us. I was coaching someone years ago, and they were like, I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And I said, great. You have so many seeds in you that may get planted into a coffin.
Yes.
Unless you go out there and plant these seeds, get the seeds, because if you really look at seed time and harvest, it is, as Jerry said, some things are immediate. You plant, you worship, you feel the Spirit. It's quick.
Yes.
But then also, an oak tree doesn't grow and produce acorns overnight. But here's the key I really think about seed. If the seed, first of all, it's a law of seed and harvest.
Yes.
Meaning it works for the believer, the non-believer. It works good or bad, your choice.
Mm-hmm.
But if seed ended, if the law of seed and harvest, the birth, yes. I'm as Jerry says, when a husband and wife get together and share that single milkshake, straw with that milkshake, it's like, without seed, though, the woman cannot produce.
Exactly.
So from the very basic of every animal, of human, seed in the ground has to produce, but it doesn't just reproduce. It gives the ability to reproduce again and again and again. Yeah. That's the power of every word we speak, every dollar we sow. He didn't talk on money. I'm sure we will, but I really am intentional when I jump online here in a minute and pay my tithes online. I'm going to go, this is a financial seed. It's a giving back, but it's a seed, and every seed produces after its own kind.
Yes.
And I'm going to help Seaside do what they're doing, because God is helping me. But I'm expecting harvest. If you plant a seed, don't expect a harvest, you're crazy. You expect a harvest.
Expect it. Yes. And believe in that and declare that, because even in, we talked about the parables. At the end of the parable, it says some of these will bear fruit, some 30-fold, some 60-fold, some 100-fold. So it's not just, you're not just going to get 1-to-1. Like, you're getting back a multiple on what you put in. And you have to keep that. And that could be a multiple of good. It could be a multiple of bad. So it's all about understanding the potential of what you're doing. And once you grasp that potential, you can really put it into practice. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, coaches have said previously, you miss every shot you don't take. Practice makes perfect. Like, it's about creating a daily habit of what you want to do. You have your end goal, and then you put in place, what do I need to do every day to keep myself going to that? Because it is a spiritual journey. This is a journey. It's not a overnight one-stop shop. Okay, I'm done. It's all great. Everything's well and good in my life. Well, frankly, we're humans, and it's never going to be perfect. That's just how we're made. And we need to have that practice, that habit, to create good soil, which frankly is our heart. So I kind of want to talk a little bit about that. As I know we're already cooking on time, so I want to be mindful of that. But your mind is a gate and your heart is the soil, right? That piece is so powerful, because again, we go back to all of the distractions, what we're doing right now online, the device right here that's in everybody's pocket all the time, the news, the radio, what you're hearing from your spouse, what you're hearing from your coworkers, from your colleagues, your friends, like, that's your mind is the gate. So you have to position yourself to understand, what do you want to hear? What do you want to put in? And what do you not want to? And being able to have that gate in use, when you're mindful and you're intentional about what you're putting in, then it creates good soil in your heart, and it allows it to create roots and not be distracted and choked out by the noise of the world.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's funny to think about that, because it's, is it distractions, or is it truth? Like, what are you hearing? What do you want to hear?
Yeah. And I think, and that goes back to, what do you want to hear, but also how do you hear it? How do you take information and go, okay, this is, as Jerry said, you get a doctor's report. I've had some doctor's reports. Okay, do I want to and sow into fear, or do I look at it as reality, not denying the reality, but going, hey, you know what? I'm going to receive the word that says, by his stripes I'm healed.
Yeah.
I'm going to receive the word that says, bless the Lord, O my soul, who heals all of my iniquities, forgives all my sins. It's togetherness. I'm going to focus on that, which means, and this is the key, I may have to pluck up the weeds that are naturally,
they're there.
And I'm going to need to go and produce, I'm going to have to go sow some seeds that maybe aren't there. I'm going to have to go and be intentional. And so wherever somebody, maybe it's a doctor's report, maybe it's a bad marriage, maybe it's depression, maybe it's whatever, find the Bible verses. And I love technology. Me and you talk a lot about it. Find 30 Bible verses that just repeat them, pray them. Speaking, you've got to get into the soil so the root can take place.
Absolutely. And that's, you nailed it with the doctor's appointment. Is it a distraction to you, or is there truth? Like, what are you grabbing a hold of? And then ultimately that's what's going to get rooted in your heart, which is going to grow. So, and sort of taking a look at where we're at, I want to do a little bit of a wrap up. We've talked a lot about this particular parable, what it means to bear fruit, to be good soil. I think it's just so important to remember that weeds don't need permission in your life to grow. We have to be diligent stewards to understand what we're taking in is really going to take root in our life, and it's going to come out. So we need to be intentional about how we act, but understand that, boy, oh boy, is there potential. Like, there is so much potential in your life, in your family's lives, in your surroundings. It's just about the seed that you put in there to bear the fruit. So just want to encourage that, and remember that you cultivate good ground, right? It's It's something, to your point, it's like, what's the one weed that I pulled out this week, or what's the one good seed that I planted this week, right? It's about being intentional. Let's putting that into practice. So super, super excited about this topic. And I hope it stirred something in you today, because the truth really is you've already planted something. It's, to your point, Wayne, what kind of harvest do you want? We've all got, some soil to check, some weeds to pull, or some seeds to sow, but the amazing part is God's already given us that opportunity, the potential. The seed is powerful. The Holy Spirit is the water. The soil is us, right? And that's the other point, is that this Holy Spirit is there with us to water us, but we need to be good soil. And we need to let that water get down in there and saturate so we can bear good fruit. So super, super excited about this. I just ask, for y'all that are tuning in and listening, be intentional this week. I ask you to uproot what's choking out your purpose. Speak life, not death. This thing right here, your tongue has power in it. Remember that, and plant what you actually want to produce, because most of all, you need to let the word go into you so it can come out through you. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Excited to keep Brother Wayne in the seat with me and keep rocking. And if you are out there, you have questions, let us know, drop comments in there. If there's a particular thing that you want us to dig into in future podcasts, we're always open to doing that. But we appreciate you all. Thanks for tuning in. Have a blessed rest of your Tuesday, and come out and see us at VBS tonight. We'll be there, Seaside Chapel, 5:30 dinner starts, 6:15 we kick it off. It's awesome time. Excited to see y'all. If your kids want to play some games, your man right here is in charge. We're going to have a lot of fun. So thanks, everybody. Good to see you. Take care.